On an early summer morning, Sarah woke up in her grandmother, Martha's house. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, filling the room with warm light. She stretched and smiled, looking forward to another day visiting her beloved grandmother. Martha lived alone in a small house on the edge of the village, surrounded by dense forests. Sarah often visited her on weekends to help with chores and spend time together. Grandma was elderly and had poor eyesight, but she remained cheerful and optimistic. Descending to the kitchen, Sarah found her grandmother preparing breakfast. They settled comfortably at the table, enjoying delicious pancakes and a leisurely conversation. Suddenly, Sarah noticed some strange movement in the garden outside the window. It seemed to be the neighbor's kitten, which sometimes visited them. Going outside to pet the little fluff ball, Sarah froze in surprise. On the lawn, awkwardly stumbling, was not a kitten, but a real lynx cub. She could not believe her eyes. She cautiously approached the cub, who curiously looked at her with big amber eyes. When Sarah told her grandmother about it, Martha was very surprised. She had bought a beautiful kitten a few days ago as a gift for her beloved granddaughter. It turned out that the local hunter, Tom, had deceived Grandma, taking advantage of her poor vision. The man had sold her a lynx cub instead of the promised kitten. Sarah was outraged by such a deed, but now they had to decide what to do with the cub. Nevertheless, she liked the new pet so much that she persuaded her grandmother to keep him and name him. In the following days, Sarah and Martha devoted themselves to caring for the cub. They fed him, played with him, and gradually got him used to the house. Surprisingly, Rocky was affectionate and playful. He quickly became attached to his new owners, especially kind Martha. Kate, Sarah's mother, who lived in the city, was horrified to learn that a real lynx cub now lived at Martha's house. She tried to explain that keeping a wild animal at home was not the best idea. Kate insisted that they send Rocky to a sanctuary or a wildlife rehabilitation center. But Martha would not hear of it. In the end, Kate gave in and even allowed Sarah to help her grandmother raise and care for their unusual pet. Sarah was overjoyed. She loved spending time with her grandmother, and now, with Rocky in the house, her visits became even more special. Weeks passed, and Rocky grew quickly. His clumsiness was replaced by graceful strength. His soft fur thickened, and his paws developed impressive claws. But despite these changes, Rocky remained just as affectionate and obedient. Sarah and Martha arranged a separate room for him in the house and fenced off part of the garden so he could play outdoors. They tried to limit his contact with strangers, understanding that Rocky was not a regular pet. A year passed and Rocky had grown into a handsome young lynx. His muscular body was covered with thick reddish-gray fur, marked with characteristic black spots. His amber eyes looked intelligent and attentive. Despite his impressive size, Rocky remained gentle and affectionate with his owners. Martha often thought about Rocky's future. She knew that eventually they would have to let the wild animal go. But every time she saw her granddaughter's happy face playing with Rocky, she put off the conversation. Many funny and touching moments happened with Rocky. Once, he accidentally knocked over a jar of flour and ran into the garden, leaving white footprints behind. Martha and Sarah laughed heartily while washing the disgruntled and frightened Rocky in the bath. Another time, Rocky brought Martha a mouse he had caught, apparently trying to please her with a treat. She was so touched by the gesture that she couldn't scold him, even though he had dirtied her bedspread. Rocky loved playing with the garden hose, chasing the stream of water for hours, trying to catch it. Sarah used this game to keep Rocky active, so he wouldn't gain extra weight from home life. During rainy days, he would sit on the windowsill, watching raindrops trickle down the glass. His fascinated gaze and twitching tail showed his genuine interest in the natural phenomenon. One day, Martha accidentally locked herself in the pantry. Hearing her calls, Rocky began mewing loudly, attracting Sarah's attention. Thanks to him, Sarah quickly found and freed her grandmother. In winter, Rocky loved playing in the snow. He would jump into snowdrifts, burrow in the snow, and then leap out like a fluffy snow monster. Martha and Sarah couldn't get enough of this sight, laughing as they played with their beautiful pet. Rocky quickly learned how to open doors. Now, they had to lock the fridge, otherwise, the clever lynx would steal treats. Once, Sarah caught him eating an entire chicken, which he had skillfully pulled out of the freezer. Every day, the bond between Rocky and his owners grew stronger. He seemed to sense their emotions. When Martha was sick, Rocky wouldn't leave her side, purring softly and warming her with his presence. Despite his impressive size, Rocky remained gentle. He learned to take treats delicately from their hands and never used his claws while playing. His favorite activity was lying on Martha's lap as she read in her favorite chair. The neighbors gradually got used to the unusual pet. Some even visited just to see Rocky. Children loved watching the majestic lynx play in the garden, chasing butterflies or rolling a large ball. One day a fox, attracted by the smell of the chicken coop, wandered into the garden. Rocky immediately chased away the uninvited guest, protecting his home and the livestock. After this incident, the neighbors respected him even more. Sarah started studying lynx behavior in the wild to better understand Rocky's needs. She ensured he had enough exercise and a diet similar to what he would eat in nature. Meanwhile, Martha knitted him a warm vest for winter. Though Rocky didn't need it, Grandma insisted. The sight of the majestic predator in a knitted vest brought a smile to everyone who saw him. Rocky was also sensitive to his owner's emotions. When Sarah was upset about school problems, he would bring her his favorite toy, as if trying to comfort her. One warm summer evening, Sarah sat on the porch, watching Rocky chase butterflies in the garden. Suddenly, she heard loud music and screeching brakes. A car pulled up to the house, and a group of troublemakers stumbled out. Sarah tensed. She recognized these boys. They often caused trouble in the neighborhood. As she approached the gate, hoping to avoid a confrontation, they noticed her. They started harassing Sarah, trying to drag her into the car. She resisted, but they were much stronger. Fear paralyzed her as their rough hands gripped her wrists. Then, out of the corner of her eye, Sarah saw movement in the bushes. A loud roar echoed through the air, sending shivers down her spine. Rocky leaped out, his fur bristling and eyes blazing with fury. He moved with breathtaking speed and strength. His sharp claws left deep grooves in the ground as he growled menacingly. The bullies recoiled in terror. The grip on Sarah's hands loosened, and she broke free, stumbling but immediately feeling Rocky's protective presence beside her. The boys trampled back to their car, tripping over each other in panic. Within seconds, they were speeding away, leaving only a cloud of dust behind. Sarah hugged Rocky tightly, her heart still racing. She realized how lucky she was to have him by her side. After that night, life returned to normal for Sarah, Martha, and Rocky. Their bond had strengthened even more. The story of their unusual family became an example of how love and kindness can overcome any obstacle.